Now we move on into the painful part of the class. Or fun, depending if you enjoy this kind of stuff. So first of all, let me be blunt. You have to learn this stuff, okay? There is no way that you can say, oh, well, I'll just look at the chart and I'll remember it when I need it. No, you actually have to memorize the little symbols, okay, and what they sound like to boot, okay? If you don't do that, you just won't be able to do the homework. You just will not really understand what we're talking about. It's a skill set that is useful as a linguist, okay? You may not use it every day, but you will use it. You will find it in dictionaries, you will find it in textbooks, you will find it in many places. I even discovered, and I didn't know this, that if you sing professionally, they give you, songs in German or in some language that you don't speak, and it's transcribed in phonetic alphabet. I was like, seriously? Yes. Okay. So that's the case. You've done that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have. Yes. So she can testify that Sandy is saying yes, he does not lie. Now, I paid her $20 to say. Now, feel free to thank me later. We're not going to study all the sounds of the IPA because there's a lot of them, some of which don't occur in English, so we don't really need to bother with that because this class is sort of Anglo-centric. So we're just going to study the IPA sounds for English. Okay, those that are not English, they're included in the charts, etc. But you don't need to memorize those. All you need to memorize are those for English. Okay, so here's the full chart of the consonants of the IPA. And again, as I said, not all of these occur in English. So you have P and B, okay? M, as in mama, okay? Then, there's a labiodental N that doesn't occur in English. Instead, you have N, okay? And T and D, of course, occur in English. Here's the English R. Flaps, this occurs in English, and it's the sound butter. Okay, as in I like to put butter on my toast. Okay. Say again?
In American English.
Yeah, in American. Why? Are there other kinds? So then these fricative sounds occur. This one is Spanish for sure. This one I don't know. Is there a voices? No. But this is in saber, right? No, doesn't occur in English, so don't panic. But we do have the labiodental F and V, okay? And that is where the tip of the tongue is touching. So, sorry, what am I saying? Where the lips are touching the teeth. Put the Q-tip and you'll put the tip of your finger. Then you have the dental, and they're also known as interdental. So that's th, thin, and then the, which is the voice version of the interdental, right? The article the. S and z, sh, j. The retroflex, English doesn't have any of these. In fact, they're fairly rare. But I happen to be a native speaker of Sicilian, which has retroflex. And so this is the sound in vidran. Okay, dr, that's your retroflex. Okay? There aren't very many people that can produce these sounds. Okay? And again, don't try this at home. Your head might explode. Why do I say this? I mean, that's the real question. K and G. In English, this is the N as in nasalized, velarized N as in singing.
You skipped the
I
palatal.
did, because basically there's a
The nasal velar.
Sorry, what?
The nasal velar sound, like ing.
Yeah, that's the one that I was just saying.
Yeah, but the approximate. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at velar. Sorry.
Yeah, I was doing the vowels. Yeah, no, the palatal.
The U.
Yeah,
Approximate.
right. Yeah. So you get the y. This is another sound that occurs in Italian, and I think in Spanish, right? It's a y. So you get figlio. Again, people trying to learn Italian. Seriously, this is a sound. This is the sound Bach in German. Yeah, you get the velar fricative. Then the uvulars, as I said. Well, there's the R. The French R there. These are the uvular fricative those occur in Arabic, for example. And then you have the glottal stop. And that's the sound that when you do the sound between the two sounds is a glottal stop. Okay? All right. So these are all the consonants in every language, minus the clicks, as we said. And these are the vowels. So in this case, you get the same sounds that we saw before. There's here a lot of rounded vowels. Rounded vowels are done, if you look at my face, by doing this, sort of a kissy face. And so that produces the rounding of the lips, alters the quality of the sound that comes out. Okay. So forget all of that. This is the part that you need to memorize. Okay. This is the set of consonants that we find in English. Now, here you will see that there are some differences in the symbols, okay? And it's not a coincidence, because what's happened here is so you may encounter different symbols for a few of these, because you have IPA transcription, but you also have the traditional American style transcriptions, okay? So you need to kind of be comfortable with both. Okay. So again, let's go over the sound. H, b, t, d, k, g. These are the stops. Okay, or occlusives or closes. Ch and j. Okay, church, judge. F, v, p, v, s, z, sh, j. Okay, j is fairly rare. You get it in garage, in jejune, but other than that, it's as I said, fairly rare. Oh, and this is of course the h, which I can never pronounce, so I'm going to spare you. But it would be like hot, that kind of thing. Then you have m, n, and n. L, and then W. This occurs in mostly in diphthongs. Y this is the Y, and then this is the R. Okay. So now this link is very useful, because I can imagine that right now you're going like, what? And you're trying desperately to memorize what I just said. Well, you don't have to, because you can go here and you can literally play an example, theoretically.
T.
There you go, right? So this, if you say, well, I don't remember what that symbol was, you can go here and you can get for every sound here, there's a j.
Pleasure.
So you can hear it and you have all of the sounds there, right? So again, this is a really handy website that I totally recommend. If you're having trouble, you say, wait, I'm confused by Attardo's accent, just go there. Okay, so I'm confused by my own accent all the time, so I sympathize. By the way, the fact that here I am, a non-native speaker, teaching to a large number of native speakers how to pronounce their own language, the irony is not lost on me. I just want all y'all Texans to realize this. All right, and then you have the vowels. So remember what I said a minute ago, the back vowels, the back, mid, and high vowels are pronounced round, okay? Now, how to orient yourselves in the vowel graph, okay? So basically, think of it as battleship. Remember the game where you play, okay. So think of it as a battleship grid, okay? So you have front, central, and back. Now remember, this is inside the mouth, okay? So front means the front of the mouth, back means the back of the mouth, and central means the middle of the mouth, right? And then you have low, mid, and high, right? So now you have 9 possible squares in your little battleship thing, right? So if something is high in front, it's in the front of the mouth, high. And that's where you have E and I, okay? If it's front and mid, you have A and E, okay? And if it's low, you have the as in yeah, right? So then there is debate where the A sound is. Some people put it here, some people put it here. It's debatable. Also, in many varieties of American English, there is no sound there at all because it is in fact confused with this one. Okay, I discovered this the hard way in my first semester teaching, actually freshman comp, to American speakers in Indiana. I was talking about career choices, and I said, you could go to law school. And they all looked at me and said, what? And I said, law school, where you learn to be a lawyer. They said, you mean law school. I'm like, no, I mean law school. What the hell is wrong with you? Heated words ensued, and until we sort of finally came to the conclusion that, differences in pronunciations, aren't there? So it turns out that there are some dialects of American English in which this sound doesn't exist at all, and instead you have all, and it counts for that, okay? So basically, you have to ask yourself, do you hear a difference in your speech between pasta and cop, the guy who arrests you, and the thing that you eat with a fork and tomato sauce that tastes really good? If you don't hear a difference, then you don't have those two, you only have one vowel that's roughly here. If you hear the difference, then you have 2 vowels. Okay, but some varieties of American English just don't. And that's fine, by the way. It's not like, oh my God, I speak a variety of English that's lacking a vowel. How can I succeed in life? No, that's not it at all. Okay? It's just a different pronunciation. This is the sound, okay? So it's basically when you relax all your muscles and you go, when you go home after a long day of work, that's what you sound like. If it's stressed, then it's this right here. It's the, okay? See, I produced it stress deliberately now, right? So the boy, it's this. Like if I said the word the, it's this. Okay? So it's the difference between stressed and unstressed. By the way, this is called the schwa, and this is called the wedge. Okay, so occasionally you may hear me say, oh, if it's stressed, it's a wedge, it's not a schwa. That's what we mean. Okay? And then, as I said, you have oo and o, and o, okay? Which are all rounded. Okay, if you look at my face, o. I'm making kind of a kissy face. So.
Does the A symbol have a name?
This one, you mean?
No, A.
Oh, A. Not that I can remember.
And the A?
It's A.
You
Yeah.
mean the ligature?
Say again?
I think she means the ligature for A. The AE.
This one, these two, this one here. Yeah. No, it doesn't have a name, or if it does, I don't remember it. I don't remember coming across it. It's the A sound. I mean, it's actually. I think it's either a room or it's a character that was already used in Anglo-Saxon because I remember seeing it. Ash. Okay.
I know all of them have a name.
Yeah, yeah.
All of them.
So then that probably was the name in Anglo-Saxon for it. Yeah, it can get confusing. Now, my recommendation is, except for the schwa, because it's difficult to say, always only refer to them by their sound. So don't call this the I, because it will confuse you forever. This is the E. Don't call it I, otherwise you'll never learn. Okay, I'm just like, it's impossible because you will be confusing yourself left and right. Okay, so always refer to them by the sound. Okay, if you've learned a language like Spanish, French, Italian, German, whatever, continental European language, think of them as the vowels of the continental European languages. Okay, and you'll do fine. For those of you who are interested in the historical thing, why is it that English has different sounds for the vowels? Well, the culprit is something called the Great Vowel Shift, which happened, sometimes around Shakespeare's, before and during Shakespeare's time, because in Chaucer, you still have the continental value of the vowels. And by the time you pass Shakespeare, it's the new meanings, the new sounds, sorry. The new sounds. And so as a result, in English, the sounds, the vowels sound different because of this major change, okay? And if you want to know what the change was, you need to take a historical linguistics class because it is complicated. Now, here, again, we're trying to be helpful. Here's a list of the vowels with an example there. Now, here, these are the diphthongs, okay? And a diphthong is basically two vowels in a row, okay? So when you have two vowels in a row, it's called a diphthong. So, which basically means two vowels, right? And in fact, a monophthong, which is a great word to try and pronounce when you're drunk, is basically a single vowel, okay? So this is beat, bit, bait, bet, bat, but, Bert. By the way, see this little thing here? That's the R. This is an old-fashioned way of representing it, but occasionally you see it. Now in IPA, you would just put the regular R afterwards. But because the idea here was that the R colored the vowel. Okay, and I have found that students often get confused because they think that the R is the vowel. Okay. So I like this because this way we can talk about it and they understand that it's followed by that you get bird. Okay, the vowel is not the vowel is is the R. Okay, so and then as I said, these are the diphthong, oi, ow, I, u. EU diphthong. Okay? There's a few others as well. You get buoy, the ui, So anyway, yeah, you could have that poor.
O tends to close
Well,
off.
O is just is just this one.
British English.
Yeah, the O tends to O.
Yeah, that's this one.
No, but O versus O. In the O tends to close off. I've seen it with the O and the O together as a diphthong.
Spelled like in transcription, it would be O
Right.
followed by W.
No, O followed by the
O.
Yeah,
Um,
like boat. Instead of just boat.
well, but no, you see, this is O.
Right.
Okay, so that's not a diphthong.
No.
It's just the way it works there, it's actually complicated. And you don't need to remember what I'm about to say. Okay, just so that we're clear. So what you have is called an on glide or an off glide. Okay, and so this one, and this one, these two there, right? They're produced with a glide. Sorry, with a glide, which is essentially a cross between a vowel and a consonant that sort of extends the vowel. That's why they're called the long vowels. They're not long. They have a glide attached to it.
So that's different from a diphthong.
It's different from a diphthong because a diphthong is two vowels. Okay? Whereas what you're hearing there, and correctly, is the so-called long vowel, which is not a long vowel, but it is in fact the vowel either preceded or followed by a glide. So O is the O followed by the off glide W. Okay? Because what happens is that when you pronounce words, right, you speak, there is an inherent laziness of the body, right? So when you do the O sound, right, then you don't just interrupt your gesture and move on to the next sound. Your mouth goes, smoothly from one sound to the other. In the process, it produces this soft glide. Okay? Yes.
I'm looking at herd and bird, and
Yes.
that sound always confuses me. The representation of the sound does.
Yes.
Because you said it's basically a schwa
Yeah.
followed by an R.
Correct.
I mean, by a R.
Yeah.
But I think there's a rounding of the vowel there.
Well, that's what I
not
said before, that
represented.
these people perceive it as being a different sound. It's not. It is a schwa followed by an R sound, the rotacism of the R. That's why I like this notation, because it helps people understand that it's a schwa with an RE aspect to it.
Meaning you can have it without the R
Yeah.
sound, and it's
It is just your regular schwa.
So, but when I do it like schwa plus r, it's herd and bird, not herd and bird. Herd
Well,
and bird
because-
are different.
Right, because what's happening there is that you're moving from the schwa sound to the R sound, right? And in the process of moving there, it changes the quality of your schwa sound. Much like the off glide changes the quality of the vowel when you're going to the off glide. Okay, if I say bo-e, it sounds different than if I say boy. Why? Because when I say boy, which is the natural way of pronouncing it, I am going smoothly from the O to the E. And so in the middle, there is a blend of the O and the E sound because I am transitioning and I'm not moving I'm not stopping one gesture and starting the next gesture. So if you say burr, you are stopping the gesture in the middle. That's why you're hearing it as a different thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm having trouble with, because from the O to the E, when you just move fast, it makes sense that the E sounds like the U sound. So it's like, instead of saying boy, you say boy. But with the schwa and r, it's not that difficult because it's a vowel followed by a consonant. So it's just So heard would be how to pronounce heard, but it's not heard, it's heard. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know what to tell you. It's just the quality of the vowel that's slightly different.
And the combination is
Yeah.
different when you combine two vowels, and you kind of have to separate them, whereas you combine a vowel and a
Well,
vowel.
you don't separate them. That's why, because it's a diphthong. If as I said, you can artificially separate them, but you don't. It's pronounced as one unit. That's why it's called a diphthong. Okay. And metrically, if you're doing poetry and you're counting syllables, it counts as one syllable, not two. All right. So, and again, here, for a change, I'm telling you to use Wikipedia. Don't get used to it. If you go to the link that I've given you there, you have this chart here where you can click and you can hear the vowels. So if in doubt, again, if you say an Italian trying to pronounce English vowels, whatever, just go here. These are the American vowels as interpreted by Wikipedia. Don't look at the rest, because God help us, it is confusing, and we want to avoid confusion. Okay, all right. So this ends the lecture here. Now let me give you a little bit of advice. First of all, Shihon uploaded today, hopefully, otherwise we're in trouble, uploaded a set of flashcards for the IPA. So you can print those out, cut them, and then you can sort of stick them together, and you get the articulatory definition and the symbol. And then you can sort of play, or you can sort of write it if you are too lazy. But basically it helps you memorize the articulatory positions. Because again, you need to be able, for example, hang on. Right, so here, I may ask a question, what is a T sound, right? And so then you would tell me, what is it?
Alveolar.
It is an alveolar plosive or an alveolar stop. Okay? So if I said, what is the sh sound? What would you say? Post-alveolar fricative. Okay, very good. Now, I could also say, what's a post-alveolar fricative? And you say sh. All right, the voiced or voiceless. Okay? So, sh if it is voiced, if it is voiceless, je if it is voiced. Okay? So you need to be able to go both ways. Okay? I give you the sound, you tell me the articulation, or I give you the articulation, you tell me the sound. Okay? You also need to be able to say things like, what are the stops in English? What are the plosives in English? Right? So you need to be able to say t, d, k, g, p, b. Right? And there you have it. Right? And you need to remember what these little symbols look like. Most of them are fairly straightforward. Okay? It's just a few like these, that get a little bit complicated. Okay? Yes?
Question. Would this be the same for Operation English?
They change slightly. There's a few cases where things are different. There's the glottal stop, for example, which is not here, but it would be here. The glottal stop is used differently. The British English, sorry, I can't speak at all. British English, so American English has, where is the flap? No, it doesn't
No,
have
that's
the flap.
consonant.
Right, it doesn't have, well, American English has a flap, like butter. And British English doesn't have it in that position. It has a different sound for that. They do the glottal stop. They say ba. Okay, so there's differences.
They use a schwa much more than women for all the R's, the ending R's.
Say what?
Like they use a schwa symbol a lot more than men for all that ER ending.
Okay, that I don't know. That's a question for Dr. Pickering.
Oh no,
Um,
the word final root sound
Yeah.
is usually not pronounced. I think that's what
Right.
she said.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There is no. They. So let me see if I can find an example.
Call.
Car is a good one. They will say car without the R. Okay.
So then for the vowel becomes like the one with the two little dots because it's longer.
Well, I don't know if it's longer. Again, that would be a question.
Yeah.
That would be a question for Dr. Pickering, not my field. But I mean, to answer your question, yes, there are some slight differences, not enormous, and really every variety of English is a variety because it does have a few differences that show up that way, and that's how you know that you're hearing British English as opposed to something else, just from the accent. Okay, so first of all, memorize the articulatory positions and the symbols for not all of the IPA, but for the English sounds, consonants and vowels. Okay. Now, of course, you need to understand what you're talking about, right? So don't just memorize velar and you have no idea what velar means, okay? So that's why the whole first half of the lecture was, what do these terms mean, okay? Now, after you've memorized this, and I stress after you've memorized this, there will be a transcription exercise that will be made available on the shell as of tomorrow, basically. Okay? So you can download it. It's like a few words, and you're supposed to transcribe it in phonetic alphabet. Okay? Again, first you memorize the phonetic alphabet, then you practice transcribing. Okay? It doesn't work the other way around. Okay, it's just not going to work. Okay, once you're done with your transcription, scan it or take a picture of it with your phone, and then you submit your scanned image or the picture in the Dropbox on the website. Okay, it's a homework. It counts for very, very, very extremely little. It's part of your class participation grade. Okay? So I think, I forget what it is, 10%? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whatever I said it is on the syllabus, that's what it is. Good students are currently looking it up. Is it 10%? Yes. My memory apparently is not completely gone. That's good. So it's part of that 10%. Okay? Your instructor, me in the face-to-face, Dr. Nelms in the online sections will determine exactly how much it's worth. So again, don't panic, don't freak out, don't say, I have to drop the class because I couldn't transcribe coconut. Okay, no, it's okay, don't panic. It's a very, very small amount. It's just for practice. Okay, all we're trying to do here is help you memorize this, and we will have another exercise that will be available later on. Again, it's just for practice. It's not an important part of the grade. But again, it's important that you memorize this stuff, because believe you me, if you don't have this memorized and understood, phonology will be a nightmare. Okay, and that's what we're going to do next week. Okay, all right. Any questions from the students here in class? And if you have questions at home, remember to put them in the student lounge so that your instructor can answer them in the student lounge. Questions? All right, well then, have a good week.